Sorry, if Mrs. Wood is confident that his behaviour wasn't anything untoward towards the children, was she in the classroom 24/7 with them? Because none of the teachers were aware of this in nursery, yeah? None of the teachers were aware of this. So if you haven't interviewed the teachers, how do you know from Mrs. Wood that he wasn't a risk to our children?
That's okay. All of our schools have got up-to-date safeguarding training, so every single member of staff is required to have safeguarding training across our schools. Every school's got a designated safeguarding officer. Part of that training is that if we have any suggestion or any suspicion of any wrongdoing at any point in time, not connected to this, but at any point, then teachers have got a very clear process they need to follow to raise those concerns, both within school, and then that will be very quickly escalated to the local authority, and there will be an immediate intervention. Those systems are well established across all of our schools, so I'm confident as the Chief Education Officer that those systems absolutely are in place. And in fact, the school, as some of you probably know, has been working with NSPCC and looking at updating its safeguarding procedures and policies and its practices in any case, and that's part of the good practice.
But with child protection and sexual abuse, I mean, you most probably know a majority of it is done by someone you know, so that they're in a figure of trust.
Yeah.
So the staff might have not had any inkling about.
And you've raised a really good point about all we can do is go on the evidence that we have. So there's been regular checks on Mr. Williams in terms of anyone who's employed in schools. People will know have regular background checks. Those checks are the measure that we have to use. But also, the really important bit, I just want to stress to everyone, safeguarding is something we take really seriously. It's on every single head teacher's agenda when I meet with heads. It's on every management team meeting that I have in education. And we regularly look and update safeguarding guidance to schools and support schools with their own reviews. So every member, it's everybody's responsibility. So we are sensitised to the fact that we have to be constantly vigilant all the time. In this instance, this was someone who gave us no indication whatsoever that there was any risk. And in fact, I suspect we wouldn't have found out that there had been wrongdoing unless the international investigation had pointed that out.
So how was he picked up in your investigation? Was it a tip-off? Did you monitor him for months beforehand?
I think
Operation Notarise is an international investigation into child pornography, for want of a better expression. Internationally, these operations do go on periodically, and what they do is they collate information about people who are accessing certain things on the internet.
So you do monitor it for a period?
I can't go into the full details of it with you, but we're not monitoring individuals. These operations very often monitor websites as opposed to an individual. We're not looking at Mr. A or Mr. B. We're looking at the point of access for this material.
Yeah, and if this user constantly uses this point of access, he will flag up in your operation.
Well, this is where these investigations very often come from. Is there will be evidence of downloading of material that that is ultimately illegal, and as a result of which that information gets passed to a home force where that individual lives, and that is taken forward, and that's what's happened. That's what's happened in this circumstance.
But obviously, you wouldn't have done that if you would have found it, say, out on a Monday. You wouldn't have bashed through the door on Wednesday. You would have followed if it would have continued, like you just said. You stopped him to make sure there was no continuing risk for the children involved here.
That's correct.
Staff as well.
Yep.
And he's downloading it. I'm convinced, even though you can't say time frame, you must have followed and monitored that.
There would be, with individuals that are at work in certain occupations, those occupations will always be prioritised and dealt with as a matter of priority.
Can I offer a reassurance just on that though? As soon as we locally knew there was an issue, action happened the same day. It happened immediately. So as soon as we knew there was a risk, there was very swift action taken by the police, by the local authority of the school, and that risk was removed. So I just need to give you that reassurance. As soon as we knew, there was no delay.
And did they know? Yeah, and I'm very grateful for that, from all parties involved, that he was immediately removed. Our feelings are just, he's been arrested in April and he didn't know anything until yesterday.
And I think I've tried to explain that there's reasons for that.
Oh yeah, Mrs. Wood explained that as well, and I do understand.
We are in this situation that we need to balance the rights of an individual to a fair trial against those of the parents and the children, and we've done that by making sure that risk assessments are carried out, and it has been deemed that your children weren't, one, at any continuing risk, and there was no evidence of them having been at risk in the 3 months that Mr.
But by
Williams was
him
here.
pleading guilty now to the counts, there will be no trial though, there will just be sentencing, isn't it?
Well, if they talk about October, if they talk
Yeah. There will be no trial.
There
now.
will be sentencing on 20th
Yeah.
of October.
Because we're pleading guilty, the trial
Oh
stops.
yeah.
Yeah.
There will be no further digging.